I would like to begin by thanking all of you for being here with us this evening. I think this is an amazing world. I think the first session, which was the chief guest address, had loads and loads of data and information and statistics, all of it very clearly pointing to the increasing role that now technology is playing as far as conducting business is concerned, as far as transforming businesses is concerned, as far as gaining share in the market is concerned, and perhaps almost every aspect of the business. So I am actually very, very excited about this subject, harnessing the power of social mobility and Internet of Things in transforming businesses. The good thing was that our chief guest this evening perhaps set the context very, very right when he said that this is actually the transformation kit. He said that the three key elements of the transformation kit are social, I think that was his first slide, social mobility and Internet of Things. These are the most important elements of the business transformation that all of us are today looking at. And we have, I think, both the presentations, the first keynote and then the presentation, I think both of these very clearly indicate that unless and until we move with the changes in technology, we keep up with what's happening globally, I think ground is going to go away from under our feet. So I think that's the context, and it's therefore very, very important that this subject is being discussed this evening. We have a very, very distinguished panelist this evening. Our first panelist tonight is Mr. Kunal Bhattacharya. He is the CIO and head MEMC at Rebel, CEO at Rebel Venture Capital, and director at Rebel Informatics. Mr. Bhattacharya has an extensive experience and expertise in IT systems development, life cycle, IT infrastructure management, enterprise solutions, implementation management, IT integration, and IT operations management. Mr. Bhattacharya has led a host of projects successfully and has been in leadership and team management roles in different organizations such as Croda, Reckitt Benestar, Steel Authority of India Limited. Can I have Mr. Bhattacharya on the stage, please? Next, I would like to call on stage Mr. Manmohan Goyal, who is a CIO and a consultant IT advisory at Innovate Biz IT. Mr. Bhattacharya, please. An IIT Delhi pass out, Mr. Goyal is a true witness to the IT usage in an enterprise setup, as he has handled several deployments and done legacy systems in migrations. Prior to this, he has spent almost a decade with Philips Carbon Black in the capacity of a CIO and head of IT, where he handled multiple projects and helped the company on various fronts by efficiently managing IT resources. He has won numerous recognitions in the form of Top 100 CISO Award 2012, Great CISOs of India, the CIO 100 of 2013 special awards. Interestingly, Mr. Goyal thinks that a CIO's role is as demanding as that of a medical practitioner. Mr. Goyal, please, can we have you on the stage? Our third panelist for today's discussion is Mr. Shyamal Bhattacharya, who is the CTO and Director Operations at PwC, a physics honors from Kolkata University and an electronics engineer from Tata University. Mr. Bhattacharya has been a national scholar, awardee of the National Science Talent Search Scholarship, and a winner of the University Gold Medal. Mr. Bhattacharya has a total work experience of 37 years. That's a huge experience in IT. He joined PwC Kolkata as the Chief Technology Officer and has been responsible for managing the PwC IT infrastructure and supplement the PwC advisory team as a consultant SME. Before joining PwC, he had successful stints with the Defense Electronics Research Laboratory, the Tata Motors, and SCL Technologies. Can we have you on the stage, Mr. Bhattacharya, Mr. Shyamal Bhattacharya? I would also like to invite Dr. Swapan Purkait, Director, NetTech Private Limited, a PhD in IT from IIT Kharagpur. Dr. Purkait specializes in information security management systems, cybercrime investigation, and ethical hacking. His experience exceeds more than 18 years, ranging from awareness, training, implementation, and auditing. He is the founder director of NetTech Private Limited. Dr. Purkai has worked with clients across sectors of information security. He is a popular speaker among corporate and social and college campuses and has considered to be a thought leader of information security. Dr. Purkai, can we have you on stage, please? And last but not the least, Mr. Himanshu Khanna, Head of Marketing at Tata DoCoMo Business Services. Mr. Khanna is the Head of Marketing for Tata DoCoMo Business Services Unit. In his current role, he is spearheading Tata DoCoMo's foray into the next level of products and services in the enterprise space. As a head of marketing, his responsibilities include product development, product lifecycle management, go-to-market initiatives, and usage and retention. So welcome once again. Could we have Mr. Khanna on the stage, please? So welcome once again. And I would like to state right at the beginning, and this is we have a very distinguished panel here on the dais, but the idea here is to share with you their experiences, their thoughts on some of the important issues related to social mobility and Internet of Things this evening. And therefore, we would like to keep this discussion as interactive, as two-way, multi-way as possible, rather than these people just talking and you only listening. So we would really want you to fully participate in this discussion. What we will do is that I have 3 questions for these experts here with us this evening. One by one I would ask these questions, and in between we have live polls, as my speakers before me have said, that it's not just about talking, it is also about showing. So one of the things that we have been doing since the start of this program is basically do live polls, which are very, very apt for this occasion, because you are actually seeing what is being discussed here. So my first question, and I would like to put that question to Mr. Shyamal Bhattacharya. I think you heard both the speakers this evening. How is the social mobility and Internet of Things converging to create revolutionary new solutions? And we saw many of them being discussed by the earlier speakers. How do you see this converging of SMI happening, and what's happening globally, and what are the trends that you see as far as this area and its impact on businesses is concerned? Mr. Bhattacharya.
Thank you. Basically, the convergence of social media, mobility, and IoT, they have come up in phases. The IoT is the last part to come in. The social media basically is a tool where that tool allows us to share knowledge, share information across multiple people, multiple organizations, and they come in multiple flavors. It can come in blogs, it can come for sort of social sites like Facebook and Google, shopping sites like Amazon, Flipkart, and multimedia sharing like YouTube and Flickr. Now, apart from this, there are a plethora of such social networking sites which are directed to the corporates, where corporates can take advantage of this, and the electronic industry can focus on this particular social media to build up things which helps organization to carry out certain applications and certain activities which will help organizations grow up in their revenue and their particular activities. So once this social media and social networking sites are up, the next was how the people can access those social sites. People wanted to go out of their offices and access the their corporate systems, the social sites, and communicate with each other, and that's how mobility has come up. But then, in the third phase, these applications found that to do certain things, we need to have certain embedded applications in things. Things means it can be either a human being, it can be an animal, it can be a machine, it can be anything, which will enable a person to start from the social media, use mobility, and then finally make use of the thing to activate a sensor, activate a transmission of information, and so on. So now the stage is that social networking, mobility, and Internet of Things have now converged to give a total picture to what can be done in the near future. I will give one example, and this is a very common example which people give, that a person may have a monitor, an embedded computer within his body, which is monitoring his heartbeat, his blood sugar, and other parameters of the body. And in case there is some of the parameters cross the threshold values, a signal is sent to a predefined place where it will be hospital or a doctor, and the doctor sends another signal through his mobile device to a place where the ambulance can be directed to the person's residence if necessary. So this is how the three areas, social networking, mobility, and Internet of Things converge. This is just an example.
Okay, thank you so much. I think, again, you have very, very clearly identified the three technologies and how they are merging for the benefit of the companies here. Could I ask you, Mr. Khanna, I think the speaker before us mentioned how for the last almost 3 years, Tata has been deploying these applications and these technologies. What's your sense in terms of what's happening in India? What do you see as far as the technology development is concerned, technology adoption is concerned?
Thanks for that question. Before that, I'd like to say that, SMI, we are not talking about distant future. It is happening as we are here. It has arrived, first of all. It's here today. And before I get into that question...
The poll was an example of that.
The poll was that example, and if you see, we all saw the Black Friday sale, the Singles Day sale in China, our own Indian version of sales by we see the various Flipkart, Snapdeals and all that. I think this phenomena is here to stay, number one. It's a huge...
And the chief guest, I think, also right at the beginning mentioned that he went to a Chinese restaurant.
Yeah, and
before he sat down on his table, he got a message on his mobile saying that please try this.
Please try this, yeah, absolutely. And just to share, since all of our enterprise or business community out here, let me share 3 numbers of Singles Day sale. This is 11th November, happens in China. Alibaba's one day sale on 11th November was $9.4 billion of sale, 248 million transactions, and 43% of them by mobile. Now imagine in our businesses, if an iota of that if it hits us, are we ready to honor that kind of demand which will put on us? We will need, as Shyamul also mentioned, our workflows need to be on mobile. I need to be, your purchase managers need to be walked in middle of night. Hey, buddy, there's a huge purchase list waiting. Clear them up. You can't wait for go to the office and then I will clear. That phenomena is here. Then that phenomena, we have these kind of sales happening, and so that phenomena is here, number one. In our experience, in Tata's experience, and we have been active in this 2.5 years, we have done a couple of cases. Pratyush, the presenter earlier mentioned, one of the early studies which we did was a survey. A survey agencies typically, today we were, as an end customer of a survey agency, was not sure are this real service happening or not. A solution was provided wherein a application based on mobile and tab was given, wherein not only the GPS of the device give back the the location of that, where is that survey happening, it also presented you almost a real-time results like which we are seeing here. So this enables that survey agency not only to tell where that survey is happening right now, but also to give them an hourly flash of the results. And by this time, this is what the trend is coming. By this time, what the trend is coming. And this we did, if I'm not wrong, 1.5 to 2 years back. Another example, a white goods manufacturing organization. They liquidated the problem of excess stock. They deployed a solution wherein the daily sale was captured at the shop level, what is selling, and it was fed to the production. And production produced only what was selling. So they were able to cut off a dead stock. We used to see that stock clearance sale. They removed that thing called stock clearance sale because they were only producing what was selling. The dead meat they were not even producing. So this technology is there, is happening. I think in each of our individual businesses we need to see, can I adopt it, or what if my competition adopts this? And another thing, whether you do it or not, probably your products and services are already talked about in social media. It's not that whether we are leveraging it or not, but most likely somebody is talking about you. That's the...
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Himanshu. If I come to you, Mr. Kunal Bhattacharya, what is your view on this, and how do you see this really growing in the country?
Thank you very much. SMI reminds me of a story that was written by an American novelist and short story writer, Ray Bradbury, way back in 1950. So almost more than 60 years ago, he wrote this story about a home where the start of the day is announced by a clock. The kitchen stove takes its cue and slaps out toast, fried eggs, coffee and milk. A voice reads out the memos for the day over breakfast, and the garage door opens, waits and shuts when there is no sign of a master. Now this prediction that was made way back in 1950 is quite uncanny, because even today, in the recently concluded Consumer Electronics Show in Los Angeles this month,
CES.
That's right, CES 2015, they showcased a whole lot of such smart products, but in the area of consumer electronics. Now, this is about the past, what somebody way back in 1950 had predicted. Now, talking about future, I'll share with you another story. We love telling stories. This is written by two Polish professors who are renowned philosophers on disruptive technology. They write about a joke, this is an old joke, about a man being suddenly woken up in the middle of the night by his terrified wife, who has heard some kind of funny noise coming from the basement, from the cellar of their house. So wake up. There are some intruders in our home. Somebody must have broken in. The wife says in panic. The husband, before he falls back to his sleep, murmurs in reply, saying that go and wake up the dog. Now, this may not have been the best joke you have heard in your life, but whatever little fun or whatever little humor this joke has, that also will not exist in near future when you talk about SMI. Why? There are a couple of reasons. First, the way people will keep watch at their home environment will totally change. You will not depend on a pet dog to keep a watch on your home. You will have a well laid out, sensor-driven, internet-powered network, which will, in case of an intrusion, which will send real-time information about the intruders, their location, their height, their weight, their body temperature, their blood pressure, everything to the guards. in a question of a millisecond, in a period of milliseconds, and they will come and the incident will be over in no time. Second reason why I'm saying that SMI, that is technology will help in future in a situation like this, this guy, the unfortunate chap who was woken up in the middle of the night may be suffering from a chronic heart disease, and in this unease, in this period of unease and restlessness, his blood pressure may have shot up. His heart beats may have become irregular. Now, in that case, the telemedical platform, which is connected to his body and at the other end connected to a hospital service, will alert the doctors to send help. If that also fails, then social site like let's call it heart watchers, which are meant for people with heart problems, they will send their help. So this is what the future holds for us. If that is what has been able to respond to your question.
Thank you, Mr. Kunal. I think very, very interesting, and perhaps the slightly scary part of it is that today we need power and electricity only for fans and air conditioning and maybe for watching TV, but it looks as if in the days to come, even for living in my home, surviving, you will need power because everything is connected to everything and nothing will happen if there is no electricity. Let me come to you, Mr. Goyal, as a practicing CIO. What are the kind of questions that you get? What is the kind of trend that you are seeing in the marketplace as far as deployment of convergence of these technologies is concerned, as far as deployment is concerned?
What I would like to share with all of you is that SMI is here. And to SMI, you can add analytics and cloud. And the whole thing is integrated because one without the other will not work in isolation. If you want the true benefit for your business, it has to be a totally integrated approach, including all the 5 pillars. A Gartner study, which I was going through, it said that even small enterprises are 50% of them in this coming year are going to be adopting analytics, intelligence, mobility for their business operations. So during my travels to the west of the country, to the south of the country, I find there is a lot of adoption of social mobility and cloud, and Internet of Things is happening. We had some very interesting demo of an Internet of Things approach in Bangalore, where which is applicable to a manufacturing unit, where you know that plant uptime is very critical. So the more uptime of the plant, the more your machines are in running conditions, the more the output and the better is your bottom line. So predictive maintenance is what has been adopted over there, and using the SAP platform. The maintenance manager is wearing a kind of a Google wearable with a visor in front and a small screen. And he gets an alert. The power supply to this machine is down. He immediately goes over there. As he's going over there, approaching the machine, he gets a kind of checklist in front of him. Check this, this, this. Okay, once he's gone through that, he has been able to find out where the problem is. Another checklist comes in front of him. Over here, replace the part. So, and the machine goes up in no time. So this is a thing which I have seen myself.
So there is action on the ground.
There is action on the ground. It has started, and I think the sooner we adopt it, the better it will be for our bottom line, because Internet of Things is going to save you money, it's going to bring down your energy consumption. It's going to make you more efficient, and ultimately, of course, it's going to improve your quality of life. You will be able to have more time for the thing which will give you more happiness.
Perhaps more time for the family and friends. Good. Thank you so much, Mr. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
another example that I probably tell you about.
Yeah. Let's come to you, Dr. Purkait. Last speaker for the first question, you have heard others. What's your view on the wave of SMI that seems to be building up now?
I'm scared.
Mhm.
I'm very scared. The first speaker, the chief guest, when he said privacy is an issue. He said that he stopped that. I'm scared. I do not see. I'll give you an example. Like we talk about Internet of Things. Probably you like to put a chip on my car and like to track my whereabouts, the speed and all that. There can be a chance that while in the bypass, I may have exceeded my speed. Probably was at 110 kilometers. That information will be available somewhere, someplace. I'm scared.
You're afraid of a challan.
I am scared. But while I say that, I have to admit that it's here. I cannot see any company who would like to survive in this globe without SMI. To be very honest. A small, a big, large, they have to be on the internet. They cannot take social media as no, we don't want to be there. If you are not there, you will not be there in the business tomorrow. You will not be today, but another 4 or 5 years maybe. But at the same time, as the second speaker said, we are putting cloud, and he said, I don't know, very confidently, our cloud is secure, we can take care of that. I agree your cloud is secure, but the end result, the customer, the end user, you, me, he, she, do they know how to use the cloud? What kind of password are they giving? Okay? A famous story, one of the famous Hollywood actress, good photographs went out, available on the internet. Day before yesterday, Instagram is being compromised. Day before yesterday, 14th of January. So it's a risk. We are talking about a risk. But at the same time, I see a big opportunity. Because if somebody can answer those questions appropriately, it's going to stay. It's going to stay. See, as Sir said, I don't know when is the last time I've been to my bank. I don't know. I've forgotten when is the last time I've actually walked into my bank. So it is here. So I cannot say no. But that part, the privacy, security,
User awareness, customer awareness, their
if I do
education
not address that, then there will be a big challenge. I would like to, I would like to request Tata DoCoMo. They said that they will be able to track all the trucks, school buses and all that. I request, let's put those chips in those aircrafts also. We still have the MS-370 missing. They are not still able to communicate to us. See, I don't want to be a devil's advocate. Being honest, I'm giving the true picture. We had trouble time, almost 48 hours. We could not find that Air Asia craft.
But what's happening on the ground? Are these security issues? Are these awareness issues?
We are
firefighting.
We are firefighting. It's happening, sir will also agree. We are firefighting on a day-to-day basis because a lot of firmwares are coming up. Let's agree with Apple or the ISO that they released, or let's say Android, what they released. They are the two giant on the industry, Apple and Google. But look at the number of patches they're releasing every day. So they're also not stable. Those software is also not stable. Now when you say Internet of Things, you would like to put some kind of processing power to those fridge, those microwave, something. So how are you going to update that? If you can come up with those kind of solutions, then yes, we are there. We will be able to make good amount of business and look forward for that.
Okay, thank you. I think very, very valid and very important aspects of SMI. So I think this is the end of the first round of discussion. So any quick feedback, any question, any interjection, anybody has any other experience to share with us here? Yeah. Can we have the mic there for our friend, please?
Mr. Purkayastha, this IoT is not possible, means not possible with IPv4. Even L, that's there, because the pool is exhausted. And LE agencies are having a very tough time dealing with netting. So, what is the plan, the roadmap of Tata DoCoMo as a ISP, that for the consumers they are rolling out IPv6 addresses? Means say if as an internet researcher we are coming up with IoT solutions, so if we don't have IPv6 pool at the disposal of customers, then it will be really difficult.
Yeah, so I'll take that. That's true for me. Happy to share that we are as IoTs, as SMIs there, IPv6 is here. Up and as we are talking, we have circuits up and running on IPv6 number one. Number two, all the everybody has realized that V4 will finish off, and
It's very small, it's very
yeah, it's gone, and the solution which is there, because all the content is still on IPv4, the netting is it exists. So technically, yes, we are there today. The netting is up and running. While IPv6 circuits are up and running. Just to address that, I see probably the things happening now, because if I'm not wrong, we have tested one of the IoT solutions which is on a V6 period, because I don't need any OS or blah blah blah, because there's an embedded software. If that understands V6, I'm home. So already this is there. Coming to a consumer level and all that, I think it's a matter of time. But as far as the infra, as a telco, as an ISP, we are there. V6 enterprise circuits are running today. V6 IoT is there. But coming to consumer level on my, our other products coming to V6, I think it's a matter of time, which will also be there.
Supplementary question to this. Well, IoT will really happen when we have the unique IPs to identify the device given to that particular device on the sensor. Now, when you plan to consumerize IoT, unless you provide IPv6 to the customers or the organizations directly, organizations will not be able to implement those IoTs using their resources. So it is very necessary for IoT to really be in use, that the ISPs start providing IPv6 to both the organizations for their internal usage and the ISP themselves for external usage. So that's something which you need to commit. And this is the only way IoT can proliferate.
Yeah, absolutely, fully with you. No two thoughts about it, but I would like to make it little thing. Yes, 100% with you, because if I have to reach that kind of scale which we are talking about, I can't do any other way. That's one. Second piece is this is a condition which will help us to get to that kind of scale, but small deployments on V6 or that can still happen, on V4 or that can still happen, but with you, that if it has to reach that kind of scale, yes, it has to be V6 number one. Number two, I think most of the providers, they have, like we have got our IPv6 pool with us. It's as I said, it's a matter of time.
So yeah, so I think competition is building up. There's an ecosystem which is happening. So sooner or later, this is.
There is no other way. There is no other way.
That's all right. That is, see, there, even after, even when you roll out IoT and stuff like that, you have to, all agree that you have to roll out IPv6 implementation. I mean, you have to implement IPv6 as well. But there will be a period during which you will have both IPv4,
yeah,
the old appliances,
yes,
and IPv6,
yes,
the new ones.
Yeah.
So how do you address this challenge? I mean, what kind of implementation plan you will have? I mean, it's becoming a little too technical, so I suppose, but in a layman's.
So let me tell. So fortunately, the solution exists. There are dual stacks which can coexist, and we are right now. When I said we are offering V6 based circuits, so they are able to access V4 content as well as V6 content. So there are dual stacks which are available. Sorry, it's going a little technical, but in nutshell, technology solutions,
Both the
technical
versions
solutions
can be handled here.
are available today which can handle both simultaneously. So it's available. Yeah.
Okay, so what we will do, we have one more question after this to discuss with the panel here. So what we will do is that we will, perhaps connected to this discussion, what we will do is that we will have a quick poll once again. Have all of you been able to download that app, the poll app on your mobile phones? Have all of you? Does anybody need some tech support? Because we have tech support available here. Okay, so can we have the third poll for this evening, the live poll? And the question is, what is or would be your biggest concern in adopting enterprise mobility? Is it devices? Is it the implementation cost? Is it security? Or is it reliable connectivity? What would be or what is your biggest concern today? You have to make one choice on your mobile phone. So here we go. So you can see the poll results. These are live results. I think the poll is still not over. People are still pressing their buttons. But this is what is emerging as the biggest concern in enterprise mobility. Have all of you given your choice? Is the poll over? Is there? So very clearly, connectivity is coming up as the biggest concern that people, all the delegates here this evening have as far as deploying these technologies is concerned. So followed obviously by security. So any quick comments from the audience on the results? Nobody has. Either way, the good news is that as far as devices concerned, I think that's not a challenge at all. Although there are issues with devices also, but as far as the vision is concerned, I think devices is not very, very important there. Availability of devices. Any quick comments on the poll results? Any observations before I ask the panelists to give their views on the poll results? Yeah, anybody from the distinguished panel would like to say what? Could you pick up the mic, please?
I don't see, this is correct, this is pretty well. If you do not have the connectivity first, if I at least cannot open my Facebook page first, then the signal does not come.
Yeah.
So I need to connect first, so I completely agree with that. And cost also, they probably should have been slightly more, maybe 15, 16, I would have been very happy.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise it's okay, perfectly okay with it. I fully agree.
On expected lines, I was expecting personally these two because these are the two top of the mind. But good thing is as a security, at least awareness is being there. Number one. So what I see is yes, these are the two topmost challenges. But fortunately, I think we all know that we have to handle these things. You have to work with these two obstacles to move forward. Security, I think, much more awareness. We are not there, but at least it's something needs to be done. And similarly in connectivity, what I've seen is people are designing their solution knowing this element in mind that yes, reliable connection is an issue. I will get into dark areas. Those little bit, somebody can call it buffering, somebody can call it batch upload, whatever that. So while designing the solution, I've seen cases where people have used or they have built this risk in that yes, there will be case in point where this thing will happen. The applications I've seen are building in logic that what has been my average speed before the I get into dark area, so on and so forth. So some people are building in this logic,
But because it has come as a very, very top concern for, so what is your understanding in terms of what's happening in the country today? What is Tata DoCoMo doing in terms of really making the connections very, very reliable and always on? What are the other players doing?
So it's an ongoing improvement. I don't feel the utopia will be there. It's a daily affair for for infra companies, the telcos. Every day we are optimizing, increasing, and I think that journey, given we are, will go on because we still see roads being dug up, fibers being cut, rerouting, or other problems being coming up. But good thing is that we are at it. Every telco I know has has this challenge. As we are we are moving forward. Probably I can only say it's improving day by day, but I think it is still at a personal level I think there is still miles to go. But I think it's improving day by day. There are challenges.
Yeah.
While connectivity is definitely an issue, but I have a different opinion on this. Connectivity is pretty good in urban areas where people mostly are confined to and use mobile devices. But still, you will find that less than 30% of the organizations have really embraced mobility application as such. And out of which, maybe 5% or around that, I'm not very sure on the statistics, but about 5% or something like that have really embraced mobility to the full honk. So, why is that? Is it only connectivity? There are aspects of security, there are aspects of their being suspicious about the strategy of a mobile application really giving them benefit. But then, they are waiting to see, observe and see that where they are really going to benefit, because deployment of mobility applications, developing mobility applications and giving mobile devices connectivity has a cost associated with it. So they are waiting to see whether it's really giving them the cost advantage they are looking for business. Okay? The other part is that the organizations who have really embraced the mobility, those 30%, most of them are confined to mail, messaging systems, but very few are having B2 employees, business to employee mobility applications, or business to customers or
I
business to business.
have a question on that.
Okay.
In fact, the next question is about that only. Yeah.
So there, the question is that, is it only connectivity a concern? I feel that in that case, security is a concern also. And the mindset of organizations to embrace mobility is another concern.
I think that's what Dr. Kolkata' also mentioned, that education of the customers is also very, very critical here about all aspects of these technologies. Okay, so what we will do is a very quick reaction to what has been said so far. Anybody would like to comment? Anything you would like this panel to take up? I think that's very important. Maybe what we have been telling you is okay, but you want something else to be discussed. Can we have the mic here quickly, please? Before we move on to the last.
That we were doing a seminar of eConnect Northeast in Northeast areas of India.